Welcome to Pause for the Truth, where you can sit back, relax, and hear an honest dialogue about health, wealth, legal, and social issues. The hosts are Dr. Rogers Kane, family practice physician, and Jocelyn Turner, health education consultant, with co-hosts from the Northeast Florida Medical Society and its foundation. Stay tuned for the truth about matters affecting you and your family. We're here to tell you what's really going on and why. Good evening and welcome to Pause for the Truth. I am Jocelyn Turner, and it would not be like me to not open up and say it is a gorgeous day in Northeast Florida. Wouldn't you say, Dr. Kane and Tyrone?
I would.
Yes, I would definitely agree.
Yeah, it's one of those times I agree with you. Can't dispute it.
I say this time you finally got it right.
So now let me ask you, which is your preference, spring or fall?
I'm a fall winter guy.
Really?
I go for the spring because I get sick of all them damn leaves in my yard.
Well, for different reasons, I prefer the spring because I get tired of, the cold. But I can tell you what, though, what confuses us in Northeast Florida is you can be winter at 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning on your way to work, but by lunchtime you go out, we're in spring, right? Varying temperatures this time of year until it really heats up. But I'm not complaining because it gets hot in Northeast Florida. But anyway, enough about me, enough of being silly. Thank you all for joining us as usual each week on Pause for the Truth. As we say, where we tell you what's really going on and why. It's an exciting week here in Jacksonville or Northeast Florida because it is the annual Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet. I don't know about you, but Bob Hayes is definitely one of our local celebrity heroes who accomplished so much in his life. I mean, a track star as well as an NFL player. So we are excited about hearing from our guest who are having a little challenge right now getting on, but he'll be on soon to talk about the Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet, the history of it. Dr. Kane and Tyrone, one thing I learned from my brother when I was telling him we were doing the show on this, he reminded me that his daughter actually competed in the Bob Hayes Invitational. She was a sprinter. So that was an exciting time for my family. So we're going to open up. We're going to do things a little different. If you've joined us each week, you know that we will show midway within the podcast. We'll do a little quick history maker moment. We're going to start the podcast this evening with showing you a little bit about Mr. Bob Hayes. Hit it behind the scenes, technology expert Tyrone.
Oh my goodness, make up your mind what I'm going to be today.
Call Tyrone.
Hello and welcome. It's Tuesday, March 12th, 2024, and you're on Pause for the Truth's History Makers Minute. Today we celebrate the phenomenal Robert "Bullet" Bob Hayes, a man whose lightning-fast legs left both Olympic tracks and NFL gridirons in awe. Buckle up, because we're diving into the story of this incredible historical athlete. Born on December 20th, 1942, in Jacksonville, Florida, Robert Lee Hayes' early years were spent in the historic Gullah Geechee community of the East Side. He attended Matthew Gilbert High School, where he played football as a backup halfback. In 1958, the Gilbert High Panthers achieved an undefeated season, winning the Florida High School Athletic Association Black School State Championship. Hayes was a highly recruited athlete and accepted a football scholarship from Florida A&M University, a historically black college. At FAMU, he excelled in both track and field and football. He became the first black athlete to play in the Senior Bowl game in Mobile, Alabama, where he scored a long pass from Joe Namath and was named the South's MVP. 1964 was a defining year for Hayes. Representing the United States at the Tokyo Olympics, he won 2 gold medals, one in the 100-meter dash, setting a new Olympic record, and another as the anchor of the 4-bar 100-meter relay team. His awe-inspiring performance in the relay, where he made up lost ground and secured the gold, remains one of the most memorable moments in track and field history. After his Olympic triumph, Hayes transitioned to professional football. He played as a split end for the Dallas Cowboys from 1965 to 1974. Hayes was a key part of the Cowboys' success, earning accolades such as Super Bowl champion, first-team All-Pro, and Pro Bowl selections. His blazing speed and game-changing abilities made him a force to be reckoned with on the field. Hayes' legacy is truly unique. He is the only athlete to win both an Olympic gold medal and a Super Bowl ring. He was enshrined in the Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor in 2001 and was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in January 2009, but his impact extends far beyond sports. He symbolizes excellence, resilience, and the enduring contributions of the Black community to Jacksonville and the world. So the next time you think of the world's fastest human, remember Bullet Bob Hayes. His legacy continues to inspire generations. His story is a testament to the power of determination, talent, and speed. From Florida to Tokyo, from the Olympics to the NFL, Hayes left an indelible mark on both track and field, and football. His story is not just about sports, but about the power of dreams, the importance of perseverance, and the triumph of the human spirit.
All right. Greg says he's backstage, Bob. Tyrone.
Wow, that's amazing. Tyrone, each week when you do these Black History Minute Makers, I learned something, and I didn't know all about Mr. Hayes as you outlined. So thank you for that History Maker moment. And by the way, I'm not that knowledgeable in athletics to know, is there any other player that also, was got a gold medal at the Olympics and who played in the NFL that
No.
you all know of?
No, there's none. He's the only one to win both a Super Bowl ring and a gold medal in the Olympics.
Wow, that's an accomplishment. And we have joining us, Dr. Kane, like he's trying to say something. Our guest is stuck on the backstage, Tyrone, so he can come. Definitely more knowledgeable in this area about Mr. Hayes than I am. I can ramble on.
He has to accept the microphone and the camera. He is not, for whatever reason.
I sent you his number. Give him a call, Tyrone, if you don't mind.
All right, I will do.
Okay.
So, Dr. Kane, while we're waiting on our guests, one of our guests had an emergency. They're at the hospital with a relative. So, from what I understand, yeah. So, anyway, I wanted to ask you, as we're waiting, and it's something that our audience can always hear about. What's happening with COVID-19? As we are of the winter months, but we're still seeing a large group of people still congregating. Do you still see people as a family practice physician? Are you still seeing patients showing up at your office who test positive for COVID or RSV?
At least 2 or 3 a week for COVID. Still, they are not as symptomatic as the first strand that we had. Thank God. Obviously, the immunization did what its job is, and that is to help dilute I'm looking for the word, but the viciousness of that virus is not
the severity of it. Reduce the severity of it.
Yeah, to reduce the severity of the symptoms. Thank God. I still see some RSV, and I see some flu. At our clinic, we people coming in with all these different symptoms of upper respiratory infection. We have a test out there that can check for various viruses. And of course, that includes COVID, RSV, and the flu. And I was pretty much seeing probably an even breakdown of COVID and the flu. And to a lesser extent, I've seen some RSV. They're not as frequent, at least in my clinic, it's not as frequent. Most of the patients I'm hearing and talking to these days are saying, I just got this cough. And again, they're not as short of breath as previous strands have been. And so I'm actually feeling a little bit better in terms of the veracity of this virus and how it's not killing as many people and my patients as it did the first time around. So thank God for that.
So herd immunity actually has happened.
actually has happened. Believe it or not, I think.
And I think about all the conversations I did, we did the educational town halls and things, really letting people know that if more people are vaccinated, then we can reach herd immunity. So that's good to know. I need to switch gears on you, and I hope I don't catch you off guard, Dr. Kane, because I know you're not a pediatrician, but I know you're a smart guy. So because what's in the news nowadays are the measles. And there's some discussion that as more and more families start taking their children to theme parks and places, and where they're going to be congregating, people are going to be coming from other states with their children, then the possibility or people are going to could potentially be exposed to measles. Do you still think, and do you encourage people, even if it's your own family members, to get their children vaccinated against measles, mumps, and rubella, or measles?
Absolutely. It's a no-brainer because of the potential problems that one can get with the measles in terms of the long-term consequences as a result of getting measles, especially a little later in life.
Uh-oh, we lost Dr. Kane. Well, guess what, Mr. Coleman? You're stuck with me. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing fine. That's not the first time that Dr. Kane has been lost.
I mean, just dropped off, right? Tyrone, what happened to him? Did he lose his internet? What's going on?
I'm going to go with Mr. Coleman. That's not the first time Doctor just dropped off. I like that answer.
Yeah.
No,
hey, listen, whenever you get a shot at Doc, you take it.
Isn't that the truth? And he can't say, "Oh man, he's back." Darn, I missed my
Stop talking back. Stop talking back.
Right, I missed my opportunity. Well, welcome, Mr. Greg Coleman. Mr. Coleman, if I can call you Greg.
Absolutely, that's what my mama named me.
And I'm Jocelyn. Thank you so much for joining us. I've heard of you, and this is my first time actually meeting you. So, a pleasure to have you as our guest tonight on Pause for the Truth. How is your day so far?
It's been a full day from start to finish with press conferences and, trying to make sure that all the teams have been secured for the track meet, getting ready for the gala. So it's been nonstop, and it doesn't stop here.
Oh, there's a gala?
Yes. Let me give you the rundown of the weekend. There's a Hall of Fame gala on Thursday night at the Potter's House International Ministries. And the great thing about it, we're sold out.
Nice.
That's a great thing. We've got over 390 guests that will be a part and witness the induction of the 2024 class of the Bob Hayes Hall of Fame. And on Friday, we have a collegiate meet that's called Run for the Culture. It's about 20 college teams from around the country. A number of HBCU schools will participate, and that track meet starts at 8 o'clock on Friday morning. Also on Friday, we have what we call a conversation with our legends. That means all of those Hall of Famers and some other noted athletes will be in the arena out at University of North Florida, and we'll have a round robin conversation with about 1,500 middle schoolers, talking about life lessons and what it takes to be a success. So that goes from 2:30 to 3 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock, we have a middle school clinic for the middle schoolers. And then at 5:30, we have the James Day Middle School Track Meet, which was deemed a developmental track meet, honoring one of our founders and longtime meet director, Coach James Day, who was my coach, my mentor, my dear friend, longtime meet director. And then at 5:30, we have that meet with the middle schoolers. But the beauty about having this meet at a great facility, I mentioned that collegiate meet, Run for the Culture. We're going to take their sprints, finals, the 100, 200, 4x1, and the 4x4, and we're going to merge those into the Bob Hayes finals on Saturday afternoon. Because you might say, well, Greg, why are you doing that? You're going to mix high schools with college? Absolutely. Because if you look at some of the top track meets around the nation, you talk about Penn relays, you talk about Texas relays, you talk about Florida relays. There's a collegiate high school component in most of those elite premier meets. And that's what we strive to be. So we're doing that to give the kids an opportunity to see what it's like to compete at the highest level. Also, it's going to keep some of those college coaches around, so they're going to have an opportunity to scout our kids, and some might be able to get scholarships, because I know my mom and dad didn't have money to send me to Florida A&M, talking about cash money. It was a track scholarship, although a lot of my journey was about the National Football League, being the first African-American punter in the NFL, but it was track and field that opened my eyes to the possibility of what's possible. I got outside and track meets around the nation and saw how other communities functioned and lived, and that gave me that inspiration. It gave me that dream it allowed me to dream. Joycelyn, let's put it that way. So to have those college coaches there scouting these kids, the possibility of getting a scholarship was something that we chose to do. We're also through our fundraisers, we are providing some high school kids who participated in the Bob Hayes track meet. We're giving them scholarships, college scholarships, to help with their with the next level. So we're also partnered with the PGA, and through their donations, we're also giving 2 golf scholarships. But that's going to be done at the James Day Golf Tournament on May 6th out at Eagle Landing here out in Orange Park. So there are a lot of components. It's more than a track meet. I always say it's more than a track meet. It's an experience. So we've got the gala on Thursday night that's sold out. But if you still want to donate to the scholarship fund, you can do that by going to bhitm22.org. And then on Friday, we've got the Run for the Culture, the collegiate meet, along with the middle school meet that afternoon. And then the granddaddy of them all, the Bob Hayes track meet on Saturday, starting at 8 o'clock with the preliminaries. We've got over 175 different schools that will be participating. At one point, the Bob Hayes track meet was known and noted as the largest one-day track meet in the country. So it's notable. We've got teams from Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, and next year we will probably be international at that point.
Yeah, I have experience. A couple of things that you talked about. I'm sorry, Dr. Kane. I'm getting ready to be auntie proud and brag, and friend proud and brag, because my niece was actually inducted into Ribault Hall of Fame a couple of years ago as a track star, and she's coming for the gala. I remember it after you started talking. So she has a ticket. She didn't invite me, but anyway.
And what's her name?
Dion
going with her.
It was Dion Turner. Yeah, she was
Wonderful.
a track star.
Wonderful.
And then my friend, she coached long jumpers at Miami Northwestern. So I have been attending the Bob Hayes track meet following her. She actually competed. We're Gators. We went to University of Florida. So I followed her career since we were at the University of Florida, and then she's been coaching with Carmen Jackson at Miami Northwestern.
Oh man!
So Ms. Turner, I see Greg got a big old smile on his face when you mentioned Mr. Jackson. Tell him what the surprise was going to be for him until earlier.
Yeah, they had a family emergency. He's not going to be on.
To be on here with you.
Oh man!
Yeah, Calvin.
That would have been nice. That would have been nice.
They've been texting me. He was looking forward to it. So we have to get both of you back on. Well, I tell you what, I had no idea all that is involved with the Bob Hayes Invitational experience. I won't call it track meet, because all I knew about was the track meet until my niece told me about the gala, and to know all the things that are going on. And you're right. So many athletes, I think about my brother, he went to FAMU, and if it were not for his band Yeah, whatever. Go Gators. Anyway, I digress. But
No.
if it were not for his band scholarship, he would not have been able to go to FAMU. So you're right. Athletics and band in many of our communities, that's how we got to college back in the days. Now, me and Tyrone, we got in because, and Dr. Kane, we got in because of our nope, nothing against you athletes or band people, but it was purely academics. But truth be told, because African Americans had to be admitted to the University of Florida when I attended UF in 1977. So let's not get it twisted. Unlike some of our leaders, I don't take that for granted that it was because of affirmative action that I was allowed to get to the University of Florida. So again, enough about me, but I'm excited. There's a lot going on, but I have to bring up the elephant in the room, Greg, because as Dr. Kane mentioned about having you as our guest, I am one of those folks who I might semi understand. I'll give up my little disclaimer, but I was a little feeling some kind of way when it moved from William Raines High School to UNF. And I know I say that for so many reasons because I know a lot of people are transportation challenged and may not have, a way to get to all the way to UNF. Because if you grew up in Jacksonville, some people, if you had to cross the bridge, that was like going out of town, right?
Yeah, and I understand that sentiment, and I had some of those same feelings, but there were a couple of things that rang in my ear. That was the words of Bob Hayes and the words of Coach James Day. And he said, Greg, whatever you decide to do, make sure that you keep it about the kids. Understanding community, understanding culture. But there had been a decline in recent years with the Bob Hayes, the analytics, the numbers. They don't lie. The gate, it doesn't lie. There have been teams, local teams right here in Duval County had stopped coming. And those are some things that you can't legislate, you can't market, you can't social media. Those are the facts. But one of the key principles was the fact that Raines and Rebold were slated to be rebuilt. Coach James Day had the foresight of having conversations many, many years ago with the folks over at University of North Florida, one of the finest facilities in the country. That's why the state track meet is there. They hold the NCAA regionals there. So he had the foresight, not wanting to be without a facility or a place to have the Bob Hayes track meet. The mere fact that the district, through logic and wisdom and budgets, however you want to call it, they were not going to reinvest in Raines and the facility there to upkeep it to the level that it takes to host all of these elite athletes who come in, because they weren't going to run on a track that's not completely resurfaced, refurbished, and all of those things. So they put their talents at risk. I had never been to the University of North Florida. Coach Day's wife, Yvonne, said, Greg, maybe you should go over and talk to Irvin Lewis over at the University of North Florida. I said, why would I do that? She said, because Coach has been talking with him for the last several years. Upon going to University of North Florida and laying eyes on this amazing facility, I said, oh my God, it's an answer to prayer. Because yes, we've got great partners who have invested in the city of Jacksonville, Pepsi, and all of those. But all of those funds, the majority of those funds were used for the upkeep and preparation of the track meet. Well, University of North Florida, an amazing facility. And I digress for just a moment. And I understood one of the most difficult parts, one of the most difficult decisions that I had to make was I went to Raines. I competed in the Bob Hayes track meet. I was the announcer since 1976. So my DNA is all over Raines High School. But the words that Bob Hayes and Coach James Day said, Greg Colvin, you keep it about the kids. So all of those decisions, I say that, all of those decisions were about the kids. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and I look at it as a community. Look how lucky I was. Dr. Kane was on mute. Um, all of those things I thought of, but I also think, Greg, about the community in terms of the parents and the folks. I know there are a lot of people who were vendors and things. And so the money, it seemed, and I don't know this for fact, so I did not study the analytics, but the money that it potentially brought the small businesses that were present there, or even the vendors. I worked at the health department. We used to bring one of the mobile units doing testing. And so, are those resources still available, or the opportunity, or do you have restrictions at the
Absolutely.
university?
Absolutely. We're going to have vendors, food trucks,
Okay.
merchandise, all of those things, all of
Okay.
those opportunities that came up under the umbrella while the track meet was at Reigns. That's still the
Still.
opportunity. Now, I
Okay.
will say, I'm going to push back just a little bit. I understand that there are some people who are transportational challenged, but again, I say I look at the numbers. They were in decline. There were folks in the community that had stopped coming to the Bob Hayes track meet. One of the other things is, I this is just a fact. If it's important to you, you'll find a way to go. If somebody wanted to go to
True.
the town center for a movie or a
Go to the
restaurant,
club.
we find a way to do the things that we choose to do. And yes, that is a valid reason for a number of people, but for the majority, we find a way to do what's important. So if the Bob Hayes was important, then you find a way. And we have made it much easier. The parking there, 2,000 parking spots, you know, along with some of the vendors came inside, but there were more vendors on the outside than it was on the inside. So a lot of the funding that took place in all of those things did not benefit Reigns, did not benefit the Bob Hayes. So there's a catch-22 on both of them. I understand the culture, I understand community, but community is more than Northside. There are kids of color all over this city, and we have to look at that. You know, everybody's just not in the North Side. And I'll say this too. The track meet itself started at Douglas Anderson on the South Side.
Mm-hmm.
Then it moved to Northwestern. We outgrew Douglas Anderson. We outgrew Northwestern. And it stayed at Reigns for a number of years, and we outgrew the facility. And I would say this, and this is not a snippet or, answer, but most of us are not living in the same house that we grew up in. Some are by choice, but most wanted to make strides, went to the next level. And that's all we're doing, trying to take the Bob Hayes. We are taking the Bob Hayes to the next level. We're being streamed live by Lit TV Network. Two young African-American gentlemen who started that network. It's going to be broadcast nationwide. So there are a lot of advantages. There are more advantages than not. I weighed both the positive and the not so positive. And we made the decision to do what was best for the kids.
You know, Ms. Turner and Greg and Tyrone, Greg is he's being very diplomatic with the way he says things. Greg and I have had many conversations on this. But see, as you guys, as all of you know, I'm not that very articulate, but I like to get my point across. Okay. The key thing is it's for the kids. I can admire those vendors that, that wanted to get out and do this, that, and the other, and add a little extra money to their pockets because they sold some different things. But this is for the kids.
How lucky are we?
I'll pick,
Joyce,
I'll pick
that
up
is
from
so
that.
wrong.
I'll pick up from that. It's definitely a event like this here is for the kids. Now, I'll make one correction for Miss Jocelyn said that Dr. Kane, her, and myself went to school for academics. I went on a basketball scholarship. So, and I come from East St. Louis, Illinois, which is a haven of athletics and especially track and field. You know, we have a couple of gold medal Olympians in just from the city of which, and I grew up with them. And so trust me, I do understand the value. it's very difficult from time to time for people to break away from what they've always done, even when what they've done is no longer working. And so it is exciting to see and to hear that it is going to a venue that allows it to expand, because as it expands, then more children will benefit from what is offered there. So I'm excited to hear that.
Thank you, Tyrone.
I knew I got cut off. Jocelyn did it intentionally. Anyway, Tyrone, you got to hit that button, that kill button you gave her. Anyway, but my point, and I'm going to say it real quick. When I talked to Greg, I emphasized to him what he emphasized to me. It's about the kids. Mm-hmm. And all the rest of that, while I understand, tradition, and I appreciate people wanting to come, to Bob Hayes, and whatever reason that they may have given or may give for the wanting to keep it on the north side, I saw nothing better than the reason to be able to keep it going, because it was in decline in terms of attendance. Okay. And also, if you throw in there, it's for the kids. That in itself, I'm not a University of North Florida fan. That's not what I'm about. But I am about maintaining a program that's so beneficial to the community and giving it every opportunity to survive. This is a breath of fresh air for the tournament, not because it's not in the hood. I like for the idea of being in the hood. But if we can't keep up with the promise of what the invitational meet represents, to be inclusive to all these new schools, all the schools that have traditionally participated in this, if we can't keep them coming, which, let's be real, that's why I said I'm not about being articulate. Those parents, many of the parents that were bringing these kids to that invitational track meet were afraid to bring them because of the atmosphere and the things that have happened at that track meet. So, granted, it may not be, I'm from an all-black school. I'm not afraid of going to my black events in an all-black school. Until you tell me somebody's over there shooting at it or something like that, then I'm not going. And I'm not being derogatory, but it's the truth.
And Dr. King, you're right. All of those points that you made are spot on. But I will say this: one of the last year that it was at Rage, all of our kids, most of the kids who attended, had to come through a crime scene. Unfortunately, a person lost their life that lived right across the street from Rains. It did not happen on school campus, but it was near the school, and the kids had to come through there to get to the parking area. So what do you think those kids went back home and said? Mom and Daddy, guess what? It was a killing at Rains. And a lot of those parents says, you're not going back. Those are things that we can't legislate, as I mentioned earlier. Those are the things that we can't market. Those are tough realities of the community. And there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. But you know what? I choose to focus on the glass being half full versus the glass being half empty.
And
it's a mindset. And the Bob Hayes over the last 60 years have been a catalyst for community, but it's also been catalyst for kids. And when those founders 60 years ago sat down and said, you know what, how can we honor Bob? And Tyrone, I applaud you. What a great promo intro that you did introducing Bob Hayes. There's so many kids that don't know about Bob Hayes, but now we have an opportunity to put up a mini Bob Hayes Museum out at University of North Florida during the track meet, so kids can come by and see some of the artifacts. I have the gold medal that Bob won in Tokyo, the '64 Olympics. We have some of the shoes and some of the other artifacts that kids can learn. We didn't have the facility out there to build a mini museum, Bob Hayes Museum. So there are a lot of advantages, a lot of upside. And if I look back at the 60 years of what those founders have done, we're just standing on their shoulders, and we're looking to sustain this organization for the next 60 years. So there's some things that have to shift. There has to be a shift in mindset, a shift in philosophy, a shift in leadership. And that's always the case. But the ultimate objective is to give kids the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to prosper. it's more than athletics. So now you done got me wound up.
Yeah, I hear you. I know. I'm feeling it too now. You're going to get me
you talk
going.
about future. You talk about future. We were just in New Orleans for the Black College Football Hall of Fame, and we had a career fair with over 200 top 500, two top companies in the world came with offers in their hand. Why? Because number one, they were looking for athletes. They were looking for kids who were disciplined. They were looking for kids who have been in a team environment, who have great attitudes, who know how to overcome obstacles. So all the kids are not going to the Olympics. All the kids are not going to play in the NFL or the NBA, but they can improve their families for generations with an opportunity for a job because of athletics. And if you look at any headhunter or any group that's looking for kids, man, the first thing they want to do, let me see what kind of athletes you have. Who was, that's one of the things. Did you play sports? What sport did you play? Was it a team sport? Was it an individual sport? So I look at the Bob Hayes as being a catalyst for these kids to improve their families in generations to come, just because they got some basic habits and fundamentals that they can carry through life.
Absolutely.
I love your enthusiasm. I'm sorry, Tyrone. I love your enthusiasm. I think about Coach Day and how I would see him on, whatever, talking about the Bob Hayes Invitational. And, it's amazing how you all have such passion for the experience of the Bob Hayes tournament.
You talk about Coach Day. I'm going to share this story very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a junior in college, a junior in high school over at Raines, if you made the top 4 in the region, you went to the state meet. Region was out at Lackawanna Park. James Rackley was first. Kenny Lambert from Jackson was second. Greg Coleman was third. But this was before the days of technology. So somebody had a stopwatch and had to watch my lane 5. Well, Rackley fell at the finish line, so all the focus went to James Rackley. So when the dust cleared, they said, well, Greg Coleman was 5th. I said, hey, wait a minute. Everybody knows I was 3rd. People in the stands, hey, Coleman was 3rd. I go to Coach Day. I said, Coach Day, you need to go get this right. You need to go to the clerk of the course. His wife was hollering at him. The kids were hollering at him. Coach, get it right. Get it right. Coach Day walked up to me just as cool as the other side of the pillow. And he said, I'm not going anywhere. And I said, what do you mean you're not going anywhere? He said, because you were good enough to be first. And he turned around and walked away.
Mm.
Now, those words could have just been the detriment of my entire being. But I used the words of Coach Day. And I never lost another race my senior year.
Mm.
That's Coach James Day.
Right. And that's one of the things that is easy for individuals who haven't participated in athletics to misconstrue. That it's all about the athletics. The truths and the facts are that less than 1% of the individuals who participate in athletics will ever use athletics for anything other than possible going to college. But there is a skill set that is derived from being an athlete that are difficult to get anywhere else. The will and the determination, the understanding that working hard doesn't guarantee a win. The understanding that after all is done, win, lose, or draw, you got to go back to work to do it again.
Preach, boy.
This is the reason why he's saying that when headhunters and things of that nature talk to people about or who are in athletics, because they have amassed a skill set that is an advantage. One of the biggest is teamwork and understanding how to work in a team. People who don't have that find it more difficult to work in a team, because when you're on a team, you understand I have a role. I need to perform at my role. I expect you to perform at yours.
It's funny, Greg, you told that story. By the way, Greg wrote a book. Let me just make sure we see it. Greg's book is Punt, Flip the Field. For whatever reason, I can't get it to show up here at well. maybe because of it. Either way, what I'm trying. Oh, here we go. So punt, flip the field. He told that same story in his book about Coach Day, and that was when he came back. I think you come checking to see if I read his book because he gave me a copy of it. That was the one that I highlighted. The exact same, story when he told him what you should have been first and turned around and walked away. Left him hanging. I thought that was such a good life lesson.
Well, and it's one.
Glad it didn't break you.
No, it didn't. But again, that shows the power of a coach. That shows the power of a teacher. That shows the power of a mentor. That shows the power of words, and that is so valuable. A lesson that I learned many, many years ago. It still serves me well today.
So tell me about. I mean, we've been talking about Bob Hayes, and I don't want to take away from that. But I'm sorry, Greg Coleman. I didn't know you were all of that in 2 bags of chips. I mean, sounds like I needed to be following your career. We should have done the History Maker Minute on you.
And I started to do it, but the reason I didn't, because
first African American punter in the NFL
away from his from this Bob Hayes tournament by highlighting him. That's the reason I didn't say Tyrone. Put him in the Black History Maker moment as well.
Yeah, that's a pretty big. Let's talk a little bit about your experience. How was it being the first African American punter in the NFL? You know, nowadays when politics and so communities are so divisive, how was it for you? That's a really big deal.
In Minnesota at that, but go ahead.
Well, it was a position that very few African Americans were noted for. My tenure at Raines High School, the coaches felt that it was a weapon to have a punter and a place kicker who could do both. And I just wanted, let me be candid. When I started kicking and punting, there was nobody for me to look at and look up to, because there were none. There had been other African American men who have punted in a game here and there, but at that position, there were none. And when I said that I wanted to be a punter or kicking specialist in the National Football League, my classmates, even some of my teammates, they laughed and said, "Man, you must be crazy. There are no brothers kicking in the league." And I said, "That ain't my problem." Fast forward, I was fortunate enough to get a track quote football scholarship to Florida A&M because some of the other schools around were just starting to accept African American athletes. My classmate, my teammate, one of my captains, Don Gaffney, was the first African American quarterback at the University of Florida. And I even had some of those coaches say, "Greg, we are just getting our alumni ready to accept the fact that we're going to have an African American quarterback. I damn sure can't have a black kicker right now." And Florida A&M came down, Coach Bobby Lang, and said, "Ms. Coleman, if Greg comes to Florida A&M, he can kick, he can run track, he can punt, and if he goes to class, he'll graduate." My mom said, "That sounds pretty good." And he also said, "Oh, Ms. Coleman, we'll feed him 3 meals a day." She said, "Have you seen how much this damn boy eats? Give me that pen." And that was the beginning of my HBCU experience. And if I had to do it all over again, I would not trade one moment for the nurturing that I got from teachers and coaches, and just that HBCU experience was just amazing.
I gotta say this because I was at FAM when Greg was there. I came in the year behind Greg. I'd be remiss not to say that I did idolize him for being a kicker, a black kicker at that, you know, and it's not just, I'm not fanning his tush just because he's here, but that was one of the things that a lot of us bragged about on campus, a black kicker. And what did they used to call you, Corner Greg or something like that?
Coffin Corner Coleman.
Coffin Corner Coleman. Because he could take and he put that kick right where the coach told him to put it. Put it over in that corner over here. Put it in the left corner, put it in the right corner, he would put it exactly where they told him to put it at. He was that kind of good.
Well, see, that was Pop Kittles. That was my kicking. Pop Kittles was my kicking coach at FAMU, and I was at practice one day, and I'm kicking him down the middle of the field, and Pop said, "Well, baby, why are you kicking it right to him?" I said, "Well, Pop, that's where he's standing." He said, "Well, hell, baby, make him work for his sucker." He said, "Kick it to the right, kick it to the left, make him run for it." He said, "And I guarantee you, if you do it on a consistent basis, they'll find a place for you at the next level." And I was stupid enough to believe those words of Pop Kittles. And I hear them all the time. Kick it to the right, baby. Kick it to the left. And once you get named, we played a Thursday night game when I was with Minnesota, and Howard Cosell named me Coffin Corner Coleman. And back in the day when Howard Cosell gives you a nickname, it's
goodness.
You know, so that was a cat's meow.
Yeah. So one thing that we haven't talked about, I want to talk about a little bit because you just kind of hit on it, is the mentoring, the importance of mentoring. You think about these coaches who are out there day in and day out with these young people, you know, giving their life, and maybe some of them were former athletes and just decided they wanted to keep that going. And, you know, I talked at the beginning of the show about my friend for years that she was a coach at Miami Northwestern. So many coaches come and pour so much into these young people, but yet sometimes, I won't say but yet, oftentimes more so than some of their family members. Can you talk a little bit about the importance and encouraging these folks in Jacksonville and Florida who are listening, the importance of showing up at the track meet, supporting these young people and the coaches?
You know, I think I mentioned that I had been the meet announcer since 1976. Once I graduated from FAMU, I would come back and I would be the meet announcer. And I always say that there are no losers at the Bob Hayes track meet, whether you finish first or last. And I encourage the spectators to get on their feet and cheer more for that athlete who's coming in at last place than the first place. Because that child who's finishing last, you never know how scarred they could become, you know, by being mocked and ridiculed. So we at the Bob Hayes family, no, we encourage and we cheer everybody, because if you set foot on that track, that means that you have done something that very few others get an opportunity to do.
Takes a lot of courage.
Yes, indeed. So we encourage our kids, and you talk about the coaches and teachers and mentors. You know, you look at every great athlete in the world, regardless of their sport, whether it was Muhammad Ali or Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods or even Greg Coleman. What do they all have in common? They all had coaches. And coaches are so valuable, not only on the field, but off the field. I learned so much from Coach James Day, both on and off the field. I learned so much from Bobby Lang, my track coach at Florida A&M, on and off the field. Rudy Hubbard, my football coach, my last 2 years at FAMU, learned so much valuable lesson. I was having a bad week of practice, kicking the ball all over the place. And we were playing Bethune-Cookman down in the old Daytona Speedway. And we were in the field goal range a number of times. And Coach Hubbard chose not to go for the field goal. And we lost the game. So Sunday we get back to campus. I said, "Coach, I need to talk to you." He said, "Yeah, I need to talk to you too." He said, "Sit your tail down." He said, "Greg Coleman, you good." He said, "But you're good only sometimes." He said, "I know you were upset. I'm upset too." He said, "But one thing I got to ask you, I don't know if I could trust you to make a 25-yard field goal." That shaped my whole mindset for the remainder of the year and all of my senior year. So just words from coaches are so critical. They're so, because we as young people, when we are young, we're so impressionable in the responsibilities of coach, because nine times out of 10, that coach is spending more time with that student athlete than their parents are. So I applaud and commend any person who picks up a whistle and picks up a clipboard and said, "I'm going to be a coach," because you're now molding not only athletes, you're molding young people for the rest of their lives.
But the one thing also that you said it in a positive note, because I also think about the parents or even coaches who put so much pressure on some athletes. Like, don't put so much pressure on them that they then, are depressed or get, some, just all sorts of emotional or mental health issues as a result of that. I think there's a way, though, to do it, and like you said, I love what you said about cheering on the last person.
Joyce, right? Here's part of the problem. Didn't mean to cut you off. I want to make a point here.
Mm-hmm.
Media has been a big proponent of what kids are looking for now. You look at SportsCenter, you look at the top plays of the week. Kids are looking to make the splash plays instead of basic fundamentals. You look at social media and how kids are memed or even put on a pedestal through that medium. So there has to be balance.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that coaches and teams fight for, because you can't be high 1 minute and low the next minute because you didn't make the SportsCenter highlight. So your point is well taken, that there needs to be balance because there is a lot of pressure, and especially at the professional level, but even at the high school level and Pee Wee level, coaches are now recruiting kids who are now, Pee Wee football. So it's out of control, but you don't let it control you. The one thing that happened to me, I got cut after I was drafted. So I had to come back and get a job. I taught high school history here in Jacksonville. And when I got that opportunity, the next opportunity, I knew how to take advantage of it. And I knew that professional football was not a career. It's a means to an end. So I used it to further myself, to uplift my family. But all of those things, one thing about sports, no matter how great you are, Hall of Famer or not, you cannot outrun Father Time.
Correct?
Yeah.
And I think about
one of the things easy to miss in what Mr. Coleman is saying, because he continues to mention coaches. And it's easy to think that a coach has a one-way method for everyone. But part of being a coach is being a psychologist, or being a therapist. And what motivates one kid may not motivate another kid. And the great coaches, the good coaches, find a way to know what to say to each one. So it didn't take but one time a coach saying something to Mr. Coleman and seeing his response for the coach to say, that worked for him. I tried the same thing on Tyrone Jackson, and I responded completely different. He's got to go into a whole nother bag of tricks because a coach's whole job is to get the most out of each person so that the team prospers.
Absolutely. Well stated.
Yeah, I coached for 7 years after I got out of school, and I had 6 undefeated seasons.
Wow.
And they always ask, how you did. And then I'm trying to be like Dr. King. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I required parents buy-in. I said that parents always wanted to say, well, my child is not playing. He's better. So I had a program. They had to sign before. If you feel your child is not playing, you have to come assistant coach for 2 weeks.
There you go.
You got to see what I see, not what you hear about at home. In all that time, I had one coach to take me up, one parent to take me up on that. He came in and he saw his son, and he told me I wouldn't play him either. But he then made an adjustment to his son, and he ended up getting a full ride to Purdue. So those kind of things are all important, and coaching is you talking a delicate dance.
It is. It is. We always say, and I say in the book, sometimes you have to be able to adjust, adapt, and execute to a different game plan, because what worked in one game is not going to work in the other game. So life is full of adjustments and overcoming obstacles. And the great ones who have that ability to do it are the successful ones.
Greg, can you send to us the agenda for the meet so we can put it on our website, that those who are listening that may want to come and take a look and try to find out something, and as well give them either a website or a place to grab information to see what's going on with the meeting at what time, blah, 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 that kind of scheduling?
The website is the best place to go, and it's BHITM22.org. Bob Hayes International Track Meet 22, that's the number that Bob wore for the Dallas Cowboys.org. BHITM22.org.
So the I is international. I always say invitational.
Invitational. It is invitational.
Oh,
it is
okay.
invitational. Yes, ma'am.
So let me ask you a quick question though about one of the things on the agenda, the scholarships that you are issuing. Is it just for track stars or is it just for athletes? Who are the recipients of the scholarships?
Coach Day wanted to reward those young people who participated in the Bob Hayes track meet. So you have to be in the Bob Hayes family to get the the Coach Day scholarship.
Okay.
But the 2 PGA scholarships are for those students who participate in the sport of golf from their high schools, and those scholarships will be presented at the Coach Day scholarship on May 6th. But 60 years of excellence, and that's what we believe, and that's what we continue to strive.
I can't believe it's been 60 years.
Yes, and believe it or not, the Bob Hayes is older than the Super Bowl. We have been in existence longer than the NFL Super Bowl. So what does that tell you about the commitment of coaches and community and athletes and everybody that's been associated with it? And I must say, the homegoing service of Senator Betty Hosendorf yesterday, she was one of the first, when she was on city council, to go to the city and tell this demand that the city support the Bob Hayes track meet. So my hat's off to Betty. She was in the forefront, had the vision and the support of the community. So we honored her in life and now in the afterlife.
Let me say this.
We have a question. We have a question, Dr. Kane. This is Dr. Jones. The Northeast Florida Medical Society has provided the medical care for the Bob Hayes track meet for 38 years. That's pretty awesome.
I was just about to say that. So Ken, beat it to the point.
and they will be out. They will be out this weekend. And Dr. Jones, Dr. Pittick, his daughter. I mean, they have just been so amazing. When a kid goes down, they're right there. They're spot on with their knowledge and the care to talk kids off the ledge. Oh, it hurts. I mean, okay, breathe. We're going to be okay. So we could not do what we do without our great partners. And that team of great physicians have been, like all of you, just been a tremendous support for the Bob Hayes over the years.
Well, I learned a lot, and I will not be a naysayer anymore now that I've been schooled by the Greg Coleman. But we're at the end of the show. Wonderful discussion. Always at the end of the show, we like to give our guests the opportunity to share their final thoughts. So if you would, this is your time to say your final thoughts. Greg Coleman, the first African-American punter in the NFL. What are your final thoughts regarding tonight's topic of the Bob Hayes Invitational Track Meet? Not only the Bob Hayes, but I'll say this is a life statement, and it's about being the best. A very dear friend of mine, a teammate, Gerald Irons, he said, "Coleman, I see what you have gone through, and you've inspired me to write this poem about you. And it's called Be the Best. To be the best is my quest. Now, athletes come and athletes go, but there's something very special about being a pro. So on and on towards this goal I strive while keeping this championship hopes alive. And let us not forget the day-to-day concentration, for it'll help make us the best in the nation. To be the best is my quest. Now, some might just be happy to make the squad, but I'll never be satisfied until I get that Super Bowl wad. And so much happiness I know it'll bring, the thrill of wearing a Super Bowl ring. To be the best is my quest. Now, everything needed I cannot mention, but I hope the things that I've said is not beyond your retention. So whatever you do, be the best." Oh my God, I love that. That is very awesome. Man, Tyrone, I'm glad we got that on camera.
On camera, yes, absolutely.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, thank you so much. That was awesome. And you have really inspired us. And Dr. Kane, I'll go at Tyrone first. Tyrone, what are your final thoughts regarding tonight's topic?
Of course, first I want to say thanks to Mr. Coleman for coming on. We really, truly appreciate you. We don't take it lightly that I guess take time out of their busy days to share with our audience. And we try to give our audience a great deal of variety, but we try to stay focused on the real and hence pause for the truth. What my closing is that I think it's important for all those who have children and are contemplating whether or not to get them involved in sports. The decision is always what age is the best age and when to get them in and whether or not. And it's easy to hear things that are going on and make that decision not. But after listening to this show, you should have heard many of reasons why you should. Not just for the opportunity or possibility of playing pro, not for to be a winner and to be the most well-known person in any area, but the skill sets, the tools that being involved in a sport gives you are immeasurable tools for the rest of your life. I look back and I feel so blessed to have had the coaches that I've had in my life and the opportunities that are afforded me because I made the decision to get involved. So I say to any and all those who are listening, get your children involved and get them in sports.
Thank you, Tyrone. Wow. And I learned something about you, Mr. You need to be the assistant coach for 2 weeks. Boy, you've been laying the hammer for a long time, Tyrone. Who knew? Dr. Kane, what are your final thoughts regarding tonight's topic?
Well, I give both of these gentlemen kudos because when I played football in high school, all it took was a 250-pound halfback to say, "This ain't for me." Let me do something. Let me use my brain a little bit. Maybe I can get away with that, but because my body wasn't gonna hold up to it. I admire you guys for participating in sports, the discipline that it took to do that. And that's one of the things that you do learn. You learn discipline. You learn to share. You learn team spirit. You learn to help your teammate. And in life, that can be translated and transformed into helping your fellow man. You know, that's one of the things I do. We learned out my teamship, camaraderie for a teamship team is concerned, is doing, you know, with the medical society, with my fellow physicians, you know, the things that we endure going through residency, yada, yada, yada. But, you know, to have someone like these two gentlemen who looked at working as a team to get a goal accomplished is immeasurable. And it's a lesson that all of our kids should learn, because it's not that you absolutely need someone, a particular person, but you know, your life can be shared with others, and it can be much more fulfilling life. So I really admire you guys for doing it. Greg, thanks for coming on. Like I said, I was at FAM, and you're one of the idols that I had, because just to get out there in front of an audience and do what you did every game, you know, that takes a lot of concentration, because people start hearing people in the stand, you get nervous, you know, you can screw up real easy. And if you get focused on that, you're going to screw up. So that's why your coaches, I love Coach Dave for what he did to you that day. What he did to you that day. So I can't comment enough on both of you guys, but especially you, Greg, in terms of what you're doing at the moment to carry on the Bob Hayes Invitational so it does not die because Coach Day did or because Bob did. That, you know, wishfully, you know, these guys, and it'd be great if both were still alive, but to see you carrying on the cause, to see you picking up the mantle and taking it on is a great thought in my mind. So kudos to you, and thank you very much.
No, thank you guys for the platform, Pause for the Truth, giving me the opportunity to share something that's very, very passionate to me. It's important to me because if we continue to lay the groundwork, build on what those founders created 60 years ago, a lot more kids in our community are going to be a lot better citizens and human beings as they grow from high school to college and for the rest of their lives.
Oh, yes, sir.
So thank you, guys.
So, Ms. Turner, go Rattlers.
Thank you to our guests. What a wonderful conversation. Each week we try to share information about something that hopefully you could learn from. I admitted a few moments ago I was one of the naysayers and not fully understanding why the track meet was moved from William Raines High School, even though I went to Paxson, Greg. But now I understand. And the thing that you said about growth and taking things to the next level is something that we should all aspire to be and to do. Thank you to our listeners and our viewers for always tuning in to Pause for the Truth. Make sure you tune in next week. But in order to keep the show going and to grow the Pause for the Truth, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can continue to grow and spread the word and the knowledge about things that are important in our communities. And make sure that you support the track meet and all the festivities associated with it this weekend. And make sure you go to the website, bhitm22.org, and contribute, because this is a foundation that the legacy of Bob Hayes can continue in our communities near and far. Again, thank you as always for tuning in to Pause for the Truth. Stay well and be safe. Good night.
Welcome to Pause for the Truth. We are grateful that you joined us today and hope you've gained valuable insights on our current topic. We look forward to having you with us next time as we explore trending issues in our community and discover ways to simplify life for you and your loved ones. Our dedicated panelists and staff are committed to sharing knowledge and serving our community. But now, we need your support. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and spread this valuable knowledge to others. Don't forget to invite your family and friends to tune in to our podcast every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. EST. Visit our website at www.pauseforthetruth.com and show your support by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, and linking with us on LinkedIn. Feel free to email us with any questions, or concerns, or show topic recommendations at info@pauseforthetruth.com. I would also like to give thanks